welcome to Dungeons on a Dime. Welcome to the solo stream. I'm Brian, I use he, him pronouns, and I run Dungeons on a Dime, which is an entry-level role-playing publisher. And today I'm going to be working on a battle map for my separate Patreon. So I do books called Quests, but also I just have a Patreon where I write 5th edition player character archetypes, and I also do system neutral battle maps and location maps like the one we're looking at here. So I do one location map, so like a sort of like a top-down isometric look at a large area, like a camp, once a month. I also do a battle map like this. So this is actually isometric too, because it's playing with dimensions and planar spaces, which I'll explain in a sec. And then I also have unillustrated archetypes. But if I have enough followers, I'll start doing that. I even have a special Patreon deal that I'm going to be putting up in the next couple of days. So anyone who subs for July, from July 1st till I run out of badges, anyone who subs from July onwards will get a special pin badge that I've designed, which is really cool. Hi Jenny. Big waves. Yeah. So let's crack in. This is me working on the combat map for the Patreon. This month is all inspired by... So I've been rereading The Wheel of Time, and it is a really phenomenal series. And there is a space or a specific kind of like thing in the series called the Ways. So the idea is that you've got the natural world and the weave. Weave is like the magic that makes up the world. So like everything is a pattern or a knot in the weave. So I would be a pattern. The table I'm drawing on is a pattern, and magicians can manipulate the weave by pulling at different threads, so the weave of the world, to create magic. There is a space called the Ways that was grown outside of the weave, sort of shortcutting through it, and it connects to different times and spaces, and it is all jumbled and disjointed and strange inside because it isn't part of the world. And I like the idea of the sort of like in between shadow space. And so I was doing some reading and some research. I've written, I think, 3 or 4 archetypes for it. It was really fun. I think I've got a fighter, a paladin, and a sorcerer, and maybe I'll make a 4th. And then I thought, it's really straightforward. The location map is going to be where a waygate into the Ways is. So how you get into the waygate from the material plane, or whatever world you're in. And the combat map is somewhere in the Ways. And to do that, I've been looking at Escher's sort of very distorted perspective images, like the impossible staircase, which you're always descending, and these are traces, just to kind of try and understand it, but like spaces where the perspective doesn't make sense. So like going up these stairs here, hang on, let me see if I can draw. Going like up these stairs, oh, I've got the wrong brush. There we go. Going up these stairs, and then looking at a window that in theory should be like this. Like it should be looking down on you, but instead it's looking like really away from you. And yeah, spaces that don't quite make sense. And how you can have a space that doesn't make sense, but also is one you could move characters through, say on like Roll20. So I've been doing that, and this is sort of like the rough draft I have. So I got it to this stage of like what I sort of wanted things to look like, and now I'm going to start making more final decisions about it. Yeah, but every red line you can see here is like a different direction you can go in. So that's fun. I think specifically for this map, as opposed to just having like a generic grid laid over the top, I'm going to have to like individually draw in like the 5-foot squares that you can move in, just to really make it clear that like, oh yeah, you are moving in these spaces. I'll also have to probably explain a new way of finding cover. So normally in 5th edition, cover is found by how many corners you can see from a single space. So like if there's a wall here that you can't see through, then in 5th edition you would to see how much cover this person has, you draw a line from one corner to another and see how many get interrupted. So, like, that is half cover, because you've got, like, an interrupted element there. And then, like, if the wall was here, you can pick any corner, but, like, if you get one, and that's interrupted, then that is 3/4 cover, and then if it's totally interrupted, then that is total cover. So, like, if this wall was one big thing, none of the corners of your square can get to it. But that's obviously on, like, a 2D plane, so it's going to be interesting to be like, oh, so I'm here, and this person's here. Like, how many... Like, this is the edge, so I can get one. That is blocked. That I can get, but I can't get to, like, there. So they're sort of, like, half cover here, from, like, this sort of, like, ledge down to this, like, wall there kind of clinging onto. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. But to start, I think I'm going to need to change the orientation of this canvas. Ooh. And we're listening to the Pillars of Eternity 2 soundtrack by Justin E. Bell and Obsidian. And yeah, I'm actually emailing to see if I can, like, properly use this and be cool about it. Because right now I'm just playing it and I'm not getting copyright claimed. But, like, I don't want to make any money off of these videos. I don't advertise or anything, so... Yeah. Edit drawing guide. No, I don't want to edit the drawing guide. I want to edit the canvas size. Ah? That's really rude. Okay. Let's try and remember that number. Unlink it. Okay. 4243 6,000. Perfect. That is exactly what I wanted. Hooray. Congratulations, Brian. You did it. So I'm working in an A2 canvas so that when it scales, it is enjoyable. Ooh, those were the lines. So that the line work all looks really nice and smooth. Also, I've got bright light from the sun in my face because it's 5 o'clock and it's, like, right there. In, like, half an hour, the sun will creep ever so slightly beyond my window, and then I can open my curtains again and be all well lit. But until then, vampire time. I'm also committing a cardinal sin, a cardinal art sin, by not labeling any of my layers. That is, don't do it, kids. Label your layers. Right, so... And now I'm going to do the fun thing where I... Oh, no, don't do anything, please. I rotate the entire iPad. Go on. Shaking it. There we go. So now my isometric perspective is in the right direction. Oh, no, but that means... Okay, hang on. What I'll do is I'll just... Perfect. And I will do my best to be drawing. Okay, so the other ones watching this, let me know if you want it like this. And you can see me just being like, da-da-da, and... No. Please work with me here, iPad. You know you want to. So you can see me going like, ha 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 ha. Oh, it's still hidden. Okay. So do you want to see the whole canvas and me making a mess of the whole thing, or do you want it to be zoomed in on a specific piece and I just try to make sure that it is in that space? I'm going to do it like this for now, but if you want me to zoom it in, then that is cool. And also, if you have any questions about combat maps, or about how I draw, or how I work, or anything like that, just hit me up. Put it in the comments, and I will answer as best I can. Ooh, and while we're here, I think this will, yeah, we'll rule all of them. But these were some of the, like, oh, hang on. These were some of the ideas I had before. A lot of them were like just kind of paths that branched weirdly, or like looped back on themselves, which is really hard to kind of comprehend. So I then did some study into Escher and was like, no, let's have a flat where it's all one large flat area, but then is sort of twisted. Yeah. But these were old drafts, I shall delete them. So Jenny's asking, what are your favourite sorts of combat maps to draw? Honestly, I like maps that involve tactics. Like, I like all combat maps, because when I draw my maps, I like to think about how like an encounter could work out, and cool elements I could reveal. So there's a map I did for the last Patreon, which was a tent, and it was like 3 layers. So you had the main area of the tent, you had like some wooden seating, like which took up half the tent, but then that lifted up so you could get underneath it, so like an assassin stabbing someone in the legs with poison or something. And then above all of it, there was a completely shadowy, secret, like upper scaffolding layer where like someone could creep and spy on like the party if they come in. So it's combat maps that have not like layers or like a reveal element, but that idea of something surprising that comes out of it. I really like that. So with this, I'm surprisingly into it because it's just this strange landscape where it's just going to be very strange to move about. Right. Ooh, that is a real thing as well. How big is an inch? Because this is an inch grid. It's flipped, obviously, or not quite in the right place, but this is like the standard size for a miniature. So when you print this out, this will be how big everything is when people move around. So I want to increase my canvas perspective to fit that. So in theory, 2 of these squares is a 5-foot space. So like that's 5 feet, that's 5 feet, that's 5 feet, that's 5 feet, that's 5 feet. Like, yeah. Which does mean I'm going to have to do some slight redrafting of the sizes, which is why I've got that draft there. So this is second draft. Are there any elements that are a massive pain to draw? Well, I mean, perspective is... I can't do people, which is why I love to draw like objects and spaces. I really suck at capturing people. It's a lot of effort. There are some very talented people out there who do it so much better than I do. So I'd say if there's anything that's a pain to draw, it's people. Like, I can do clothes dumped on the ground, I can do outfits, I can do things on hangers, but I cannot do people. think something is like, it's not a pain to draw, but I find that I have a lot of hesitation making finals. So I'll redraw and redraw and redraw and redraw something until I'm super happy with it, as opposed to just getting on and finishing it. What is going on with this? Yeah, I have got this wrong. Oh yeah, perspective is also a... Like, for sometimes, my head is not turned on. But this is all wrong. And it's just because I haven't got like the basic proportions of a box going. Which is super simple, honestly. I'm going to make another layer, which is structure. And that's just for me to have, like, scaffolding to draw around. So, like, for example, I'm trying to move this, like, wall space over a bit so that it fits more into this sort of, like, 5-foot dynamic. Because, like, there's 5 foot, there's 5 foot. Yeah, so I put it like there, and I'd have the stairs wider to be like 10 foot across. Or would I? I mean... Yeah, because the stairs would go there and be like... Yeah, so it is 5 foot. I'm just crazy. Yeah. With regards to putting together an adventure, are maps one of your favourite parts? I'd say it's like 40% of my enjoyment. I think I like the drama of characters the most. So, I like character relationships, exploring, like, character conflict, and having lots of problems you can present to your players, and then just seeing what they do with them. That's probably, like, my favourite aspect of putting an adventure together. And then when it comes to maps, it's about contextualizing that information. I'll be honest, I don't draw a ton of maps for myself because a lot of my games don't feature too much combat. Like, when they do feature combat, I do like to have everything laid out and have people reacting with it. But a lot of my games don't feature combat, so I use location maps more than combat maps. However, that said, combat maps are really fun to draw because I get to, having played like 5th edition forever and Dungeons and Dragons for pretty much like since I was 10, I have all this information and not like I have this understanding of what would be cool about tactics and contextualizing all of it, and it's like scratching an itch. Well, excuse you. There we go. So one of the fun things that Escher does is he takes a lot of like he does a lot of inverted sort of buildings, basically. So he takes elements that look correct at a very specific scale and then flips them a little bit. That's not right. That doesn't look good. So, for example, this pillar here looks like a support, but it also looks like a ceiling. So when I go back and draw here, yeah, I can see that that needs to be taller. That's what my structure layer is doing. So he's sort of like, it's inwardly curved. So as opposed to being a pillar like this, that looks like it fits in the perspective, instead it's like this, so it looks like a hollow. And in theory, if it's like this, like it's half of that, then it should also then be like this, for example, and have like that flat space coming out as like a trapezoid. But instead it flips around. So instead it looks like you're looking upwards at something. So if you've got like your... This is not going to fit the grid, but you've got like your arch dome, and then it's kind of like supporting out. If this is you looking this way, then the support looks like this, and it kind of flips that whole perspective. Which is cool. So I'm just going to roughly sketch that in. Because again, this is my draft layer, so it's going to be me just sort of figuring out how the space is going to work. And then I'll go in and I'll start on a third layer and start clearing that into actually something usable. Oh, I think I got this wrong. Ugh, God. I haven't drawn in this for like a week, and it's just boggling my mind. Yeah, because there's like a slight divot. Like, ugh. You know what? Don't break what ain't fixed. I have these headphones in, and they keep getting in the way, and it's really annoying me. Out of the way, keyboard. Goodbye. Right. Because there's like a little divot over there, and then it comes out to these sorts of curved beats. I really should have done some warm-up sketches before starting the stream, I'm going to be honest. Ugh, I feel all rusty. I'm really getting confused again. Ugh. Hmm? Ugh, Brian, again. Yeah, this is why it looks confusing, because I've drawn the lines to the wrong places. There we go. So you guys listening / watching along, what are some of your favourite encounters to run in like Dungeons and Dragons, or just like any role-playing system, Pathfinder, or if you play like non-combat games, what sort of things do you like to run? Will says puzzle bosses are fun, like trying to figure out their weak points. Yeah, I do like. Ultimately, combat is very easy to just be like stab this dude 10 times, and he dies, and that's it. And ultimately, it can be much more satisfying to figure out, as Will says, like weaknesses in a boss, or which could be like physically, like they're resistant to frost or something like that. But it could also be stuff like things they want to defend, their own goals in a situation. Like, do they want to do the specific thing? That vibe. Ooh, and stuff like objectives that you're trying to just oppose the other person from doing. Sort of like a capture the flag. Like one person wants to turn the machine on, another person doesn't want to turn the machine on. Stuff like that. So kind of like fighting and trying to, or like taking control of a ship. Imagine like if the enemies are like maybe some evil mermaids or something, and they've boarded your ship and they want to try and steer your ship into the rocks, and you've actively got to try and fight them away from the helm. That could be really cool. So something I liked about a description of the ways, which is the sort of in-between space in the Wheel of Time, is how it's described as having sort of this architecture which makes no sense, but also the scaffolding which is impossible. So entire bridges and cities seem to just sort of just hang in the air, and it's this endless black void otherwise. And the whole place is completely dark, so you have to go in with your own torches and stuff like that. Getting very warm in my flat. Which is, I don't know, you'd want that, as it is summer. But yeah. Okay, so I'm having ideas looking at perspective. I think I might flip these windows. So they're sort of like this. And that it is entirely upside down. So instead, the walkway, there's like a rooftop they can get out onto, and this is where maybe like some ranged enemies might be camping out that are very difficult to access. Like you have to jump against gravity to then land in a space where you can get to them. And they can occupy like spaces here. It's one too wide. And then the difficult thing is that you've got this big pillar here that looks like it's supporting it, but actually is sort of like a dome over it. So that's actually a huge interrupting factor. Like, that doesn't work. That could be cool. Maybe. Or literally is sort of just like an upside down space. Like the pillar goes up like all the way through to here, and it's like it's both of them. Like it looks like it's from here. It looks like it's a little alcove, and there's sort of like this sort of branching column space. The same here, something like that, and then. Okay, this is confusing me. Ugh. What's one of the most interesting moments you've witnessed as a DM? Ooh, that is a really good question from Will. So, what is one of the most interesting moments I've witnessed as a DM? Well, I've played a lot of really good games. But the one that I'm going to talk about is the most recent one I've played with my two friends there in Atlanta. We just finished a 4-month-long off-stream game. It was meant to be a one-shot, right? I was testing out some new role-playing zine that I've been writing called Mortal Bearings. And I just wanted to see how it played, if it was sane. And what ended up happening is we ended up playing for like 4 months every week on Wednesday, which was insane. Okay, so there's pillars... hang on. Right. Yeah. Like, that looks insane. I have to move this whole pillar, though. So we were playing for a long time. We had a good run with those characters. I very much am going to miss them. But essentially it was like a King Arthur campaign where we had 2 knights, Sir Grey and Sir Eleanor. Sir Eleanor is more of like an older, more experienced, no shit's given knight, and Sir Grey is more of a like young Labrador, trying really hard, kind of anxious, nervous, kind of soft boy. You know, good classic dynamic. And there were a lot of interesting moments in that campaign, but what I liked most is that often these 2 characters and the 2 players would riff off of each other very well. So there was... and they would feed into each other, like out of character and in character. So there was a moment when Sir Grey was trying to track down some monsters in the forest, which was very intense. And he only had 1 torch, he only had like a woodchopper's axe, it's the middle of winter, and he kept coming across all of these struggles that was... like he dropped his torch and it skittered across like a frozen lake, and he had to try and retrieve it without like falling in the water, and he had to like scrabble through some brambles, and he was like, and then he had to fight a wolf, like it tried to like, you know, tear his neck out and stuff, like, all this very intense combat. But all of the dangers that Sir Grey was being faced with in the forest, Sir Eleanor was then tracking him, trying to find him and help him before he got eaten by a wolf or something. And we then got to reveal bit by bit as Sir Eleanor was tracking him that all of the dangers he was facing were actually mostly in his head. So for example, so Sir Eleanor is ahead trying to track this wolf, and Sir Grey is ahead trying to track this wolf, and Sir Eleanor is like following him to try and catch up. And so Sir Grey scrabbles across like a frozen pond to grab the torch that he dropped, and he thinks he barely makes it across and that he could have sunken to his death and that no one would ever find him. And then Sir Eleanor comes through that scene, because we're alternating, like, you know, one person does one challenge and then we move to the next player and they do another challenge and we go back and forth, sort of like cameras in a TV show panning between these 2 people. And Sir Eleanor just rides through this pond on horseback, and the pond is like, I don't know, like half foot deep, but because it's dark, because it's frozen over, there was no way that Sir Grey could have known. So it's this sort of... Sir Grey is fearing for his life over things that Sir Eleanor is just completely disregarding. But then again, Sir Eleanor, through narrating out loud, like, oh god, you know, this could happen, I have to do this, and we have to... I've been really worried. It's giving me, as a dungeon master, all sorts of cool things to throw at Sir Grey, but also it's making Sir Grey, like the player, Atlanta, super nervous and scared, and it's hyping the tension. So it was an interesting dynamic where we were both, as like an audience watching this game, knowing that what Sir Grey was facing wasn't necessarily dangerous, but also seriously worried for Sir Grey and from Sir Eleanor. Like, it was all very interesting balance. So I think like that's one of the most interesting moments. So, some other good moments from that game. I think what's really fun is when you're able to, okay, so there's two ways of doing role playing, right? Or two frames of mind you're in when you're role playing. You're either in actor stance or director stance. Well, those are the two extremes, and you can shift between the two, and you can incorporate both of those stances into your role play. Actor stance is you are your character, your actions are determined by what your character knows, and you're thinking about being in the moment, like an actor would in a play or something like that. And director stance is you have a larger knowledge of things going on, so you are acknowledging everything you know about the story and that meta knowledge, and then you're moving and you're making decisions as your character that make a better story, but might not necessarily be a good decision for that character to make. So, what's been really fun and making some good moments as a DM is having players who are also in director stance. So I can give them more information about the scene and trust that they're not going to use that to a meta advantage, because we're all here to tell a cool story. So sort of having these moments where they one character sees something that's really dangerous or is told of something really dangerous, and then the other character is far away doing that dangerous thing, and then leaning into those traps or those curses or whatever, and having that complete anxiety between the two. I think that's really cool. There was a cool moment where before Sir Eleanor rode out to look for Sir Grey, because Sir Grey was a village away doing night things and this wolf stuff. Sir Eleanor was washing pots in a kitchen to repay some damage that she'd accidentally done. And so she's scrubbing pots and being oh god, it's really intense. I'm describing this very intense scenario where she's getting completely, almost like a meditative state, washing and washing and washing. And then we have Sir Grey being oh, and a wolf is trying to bite you. And the contrast of those two things, and then being able to lean into both of them at the same time. Those have made some really cool moments. So Jenny's asking, how often do you play rather than DM? So I don't play that much. I think it's part and parcel of having so much experience, is that you run games for people who don't have as much experience. I do like to play, and I am playing in a semi-weekly game. With my original D&D group, actually, from when I was 10. We all are adults and stuff now. And what we have been doing with our time during lockdown is actually starting up a D&D game again. So I am a player, and it is good to have that perspective again, because it reminds me of, I don't know, what it's like not to know everything, what it's like to try and recognize when other people are having their moments, let them have their moments, how to support them as a player and not just as a DM facilitating, if that makes sense. Yeah. What was it doing? It's doing this. And then this. So yeah, I don't play that much as a... Excuse you. I don't play that much as a player. I do want to play more, and I have seen some people asking for players in one-shot games online. So I've sent a couple interested, hey, if you want a player, then I would love to be part of your game. Just because it's cool to see other role-playing styles, for sure. But I feel sometimes if the game's really good, like with Ver in Atlanta, it's almost as it's like you are a player, because you have these characters you're controlling, and you just get to control a couple more of them. Yeah, so it can be really fun. Right, okay. So I'm gonna... See, when I first started this, I thought it was all going to be like, oh, I'm just going to do some lines. It'd be really easy work. I'll just be like going back over everything I did. Now I'm like, oh, let's have a completely upside down pillar alternative area that will just, come out of nowhere. Sure. Perfect. Ooh. Okay, so if, like, these are windows, they're smaller. They're not, like, a whole 5 foot, because that'd be ridiculous. But, like, got window vibe going on here. Uh-huh. And then, this could all be, like, withered bushes. Oh, that's the other thing, is the whole place of the ways is entirely in darkness. There used to be a golden sun that kind of lit up the whole place, and there used to be fruit trees that, along these different paths that people could pick fruit from, and on their journey, and eat. And now, at some point, the sun set, and the whole place is entirely just, like, pitch black now. There's no, like, light source. So there are all these old, dead, completely withered bushes. So I like the idea of there maybe being, like, maybe like a bench here. And then maybe just, like, some withered... Ooh, like there could be vines going up. And they were all... And that's how you get around. There's, like, these vines growing across the ground. And the vines are across, and it's all just completely dead. And, like, eh. Perfect. That noise. That exact noise. Okay, I think, actually, then... For the symmetry, I will move this. And I did see your question, Jenny. I'm going to answer it in a sec after I finish faffing. Yeah, perfect. Cool. Oh, this is going to be such a headfuck for anyone who plays it. I love it. So, I've never run a game for only 2 players. How do you find it? I thought it wasn't going to be enough, honestly. Because I hadn't run for small groups before. So I've got maybe like 15 years experience, and I've always tried to have as many friends as possible because I have so many friends who want to play like role-playing games. So I've always had like groups of 6 or 7, which could be chaotic. But it has been very nice having a group of just like 2 players. I've been considering if I want a third for like a guest, but I don't know. Like 2 players is really nice. And this is what's great is that everyone gets a spotlight. Like, I get to do cool descriptions, they get to do good roleplay, but they also get to establish their characters faster, which allows them to have more intuitive and back and forth roleplay. And it's also almost less awkward. Like, every DM has moments like this where they just have to turn to the players and say, hey, I need to think about what's going to happen next. Give me like a minute. Do you want to try and talk about the situation at hand? Now, I know that I'm better at weaving that kind of question into the story, but being like kind of like leaving like clues or things that they should be discussing as players or as in their characters. Like they look through a library and they find a clue, and then they have to discuss what that means. And furiously while they're doing that, I'm like, oh god, what? But with 2 players, because they know each other better and it's only 2 people, you get to focus on them more and make deeper stories for it. It's also easier because it's much less pressure. Like, there have been some games where I thought they went really badly, like Atlanta and Barrel Board. So it's nicer knowing it's just 2 people, as opposed to like, oh, I just let down 6 friends and I can never speak to them again. When really they actually had a fantastic time and they have no idea that you're feeling anxious like this. I think 2 people is a nice number to start with, or even 1-on-1. If you're starting out GMing, because you just get to really have that very close relationship. I'm going to leave that like that for now, but I'm very happy with it, and I'm going to work on this. Interesting. We've got this wall coming in here. How's this going to work? because that's floor. And then we have this sort of shared, strange space, because there'll be like a bridge going up here. Soonish. And this sort of, they could in theory like climb up this wall and into this space here. So in theory, if this were to keep consistent, then like this would be wall. And maybe even just keeping it specifically bland. Technically that's like a fall off. Because that's floor. And that fall off keeps on like that. Ooh, that's a mess. That little corner there of like da-da, 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 da-da. Blah. I love it. Oh, this is so messed up. Yeah, so maybe having it come to like a V-point here. Okay, this is where we go back to the scaffolding layer because it's getting too confusing. Right, okay, so break out the lovely orange. Middle of the pillar. That's our perspective change point. Oh, neat. That's sort of almost a cube kind of space there. Okay, so that's where our perspective changes. Oh, no, the windows... I don't know if we can have the windows there, because it doesn't quite make sense. Maybe? Okay, so... if we have it, maybe it's like a staircase. And it's like... like that. And then, if there is a window there, it has to very specifically be like showing that it is like this perspective. As if someone's walking. Lots of noises. It's essentially like this is the wall, these are the walls for each other, so this is where it ends. So we could have like a window here into the garden, because it would look like this. And then that could be, yeah, if I flip it, it will make sense in my head. So those are windows. That would be another window looking into this space. Right, and then you could have like some benches and like the dead bush. And then maybe like that doorway that something is coming through. goes to here. So you've got like the bush, and you've got the vines connecting the two locations. And then it flips. And it looks so confusing. But I love it. Because that's what I want to do with this map, is I want it to be so crazy that like you could entirely just flip it like this. And then suddenly, look, that's an entirely different combat encounter. Like, they start down here on the bushes, and they start to make their way up, and they have to sort of move around. Like, that'd be crazy. Or you turn it on its side, and then suddenly it is, again, an entirely different combat map. So sort of like this. And, yeah, it just, the whole space of it changes. So I think it's good to have that draft in there to show the sort of like relative sizes of things. So got that pillar. I'm just gonna rub out these bits because they are not helping. So if there was a window here and then the bridge went over it, then you'd just see like that. And you'd have maybe like some shadow over it cast from the bridge, so to speak, except there's no light in here. So instead, maybe you have a doorway. Yeah, it would have to be a physical door, and showing that like the bridge is going over it to really mess with that perspective. So if it was like a big old double door like this, with like knockers and like the metal stuff, like typical looking doors, and then it had that bridge going over the top of it, you could unmistakably know which orientation the doors were because the door knockers are showing in that direction. And we can show that the bridge is over the top of it as well. No, that's too confusing. Maybe if we shift the bridge over, then, like... Oh! Okay, brain mess. Total brain mess. Right, so if I rub this out... Goodbye, upside down window. It looks like a ramp going up, finishing with some stairs. Sort of like a skate ramp. Oh, perspective is so weird. I love it. So, like, this looks like you go ba-da-da-da, like that, and then you go a little bit up the ramp, and then you onto the flat here. Except when you do, you turn around. How insane is that? that this is more forward than this. What? Mess. Complete brain mess. Goo. Goop. My heart. Yeah. Okay. So instead, how about we flip it? That is definitely doable. Because it's too easy. Like, I want them to have to climb through these vines to kind of get across. So... Oop. There we go. So I will then... Flip. What do you want to try and do, Brian? You trying to do that? What are you trying to do? I think that's... So something like that, I think is what I mean. Because then we've got like a wall there, and that's like a really clear like perspective shift drop. We can have that going underneath. So you... Honestly, this music is much too calm for the mental power that is having to be spent for me to comprehend this. Okay. Okay, so in theory, you can jump from this space down and land where? So if you were here and you were going along, da-da-da-da-da, you could go across. Oh. That doesn't make sense anymore. I think I can see what's happening and how I can make it work. If you guys have any other questions, keep them coming, by the way. I know that my answer's a little rambly, because I'm focusing on trying to just understand what the heck it is I've got myself into, but it is fun. So that could be fun, sort of having a staircase that's just coming straight into it. And then we see that there's like a doorway. Here. And benches here. And like the vines going up. And that has to get cut there. Okay, okay. Oh, is it really 6:30? Damn. Been going for an hour and a half. Thank you, everyone who stuck around. That is fantastic of you. I think I'm going to go for another half hour because I'm in the flow of it. I'm going to swap the music to some, hopefully, copyright-free, chill beats. And if I get copyright claimed, then I'm not monetizing this anyway, so who cares? Well, the artists care and the artists should get paid, but yeah. And I feel like, okay, this is how I'm starting to... Yeah. Yeah, that looks sufficiently confusing. I'm happy with that. So, like, the old style of being a game master or a dungeon master is that you imagine it's, dungeon master versus players. You've got to try and challenge each other. I like to make maps where it is dungeon masters and players versus understanding how the fuck the map works. That is my life goal. What the heck is going on? Okay. I love it. Oh, it's so weird. I like the idea of these stairs hooking up somehow. Stairs. I'll figure it out later. Ooh, could I go and nick the old roof that I had here? Somehow. And stick it over there. Hmm. Okay. So it is 7 o'clock. And I think I'm getting a handle on this. So let's take off the drop. So this is where it's at, right? So let's get out those lovely red arrows again and just see how I feel like it's kind of gotten better and it's kind of gotten worse. So you can come out here, you can climb up these vines and get out onto here, go up these stairs, come down these stairs into a little building here, and then you can kind of go sideways, rotate onto the map. You can go up these stairs. You can go up these stairs as well. And there'll be some mirrors that will look out upside down the wrong way. Equally, if you flip the map back, that looks like we're going down the wrong direction. The thing is, that conflicts there. It looks like it should be like there's, yeah, that trajectory, it crossed. That's why it doesn't look good. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to leave a note to myself that, like, these two paths conflict. So maybe if it was... Oh, I see. Yeah. So if it was like this, if it was like a curve. And it was like, you come like this. And then that allows you to go like this. And for there to be sort of like this sort of descending arch. Sort of like support underneath. To explain where the hell you're going. So that it's sort of like these two movements instead of this, which gets confused. Ooh, hang on. What if they actually met up? And they were the same. This is that sort of impossible geometry coming in. What if we could see the beginning of some stairs here, and then there was like a door here, which allowed you to kind of go through. And you saw it, and it was kind of like, oh, and it's like a staircase. Yep, okay. Impossible geometry. Where like the stairs that should be going down are also the stairs that are going up. Yeah, and then it's sort of like this weird like infinite loop of in the middle. Okay. Well, this has been a very taxing session. My brain is a little bit squeezed out. It is 7 o'clock on a Saturday. I'm gonna go lie on the couch for a bit, do nothing. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. And I have got a new cool live show with some extra cool fun news just in general to announce. Like some big news for Dungeons on a Dime and Adventures on a Dime to announce next Wednesday. Hopefully, they'll be all sorted by then. I'm starting new Beast Games. This isn't the exciting news. Like, it is exciting, but yeah, I'm starting a new live stream game called Beast Fables. I'm making up some graphics for it now, but it's going to be sort of Redwall inspired, like animals exploring Scottish forests, and it should be really cool. But for now, I'm going to sign off and maybe get a drink. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye for now.